Alright, guys, we are back with our final episode of our 10-year GM mode commentary with the Philadelphia Flyers. I know, it's so sad. It's so sad. Nah, I'm just kidding, guys. So, for those people who missed out on the 24-hour NHL live stream, at my 2 o'clock hour, I did a in-game simulation of Game 6 for the Stanley Cup Finals. So if you did not manage to make it out to the stream, I'll give you guys a quick recap of this game. Uh, Timo Hacken scored the first goal for us to give us a 1-0 lead. Shinkruk gave us a 2-0 lead, and Sean Couturier gave us a 3-0 lead. So we were pretty much up 3-0 in the second period. And then Phoenix basically just climbed all the way back into the game with a goal from Luke Shen, Mikkel Bodker, and somebody else. I completely forget who scored the third goal. Brendan Rainford, that's who scored the third goal. Brendan Rainford tied it up. Phoenix got 2 goals in the third period to tie it up at 3. Going into overtime with a pretty evenly matched game, and somebody on the live stream actually called Alex Galchenyuk to score the game-winning goal in overtime, and lo and behold, Galchenyuk scored the game-winning goal in overtime on a power play. The Philadelphia power play did an amazing job in this final game. We went 3 for 3 on the power play, and we come out on top with a 4-3 win over the Phoenix Coyotes in 6 games to win the Stanley Cup, and that'll basically do it. So what we're going to do here in this final episode is we're going to take a look at, actually I want to simulate only up one day so we can take a look at the final point totals for this Stanley Cup Finals, and then we'll take a look at the awards. We'll look at the playoff tree though first. So yep, there's the final playoff tree, 4 seed against the 4 seed in the East and the West. Philadelphia comes on top, 4-2 over Phoenix. Okay, that was cool. So we're going to look at player stats for the playoffs. See how everybody did during these playoffs. First line did absolutely amazing. I know that for a fact. And if you're wondering, Alex Galchenyuk did win the Conn Smythe Award. I saw that in the final animation of the game. So yeah, look at this. Look at this point total here. Alex Galchenyuk, 26 points in 22 games. Definitely Conn Smythe worthy. 6 goals only, but 20 assists. So great job for Alex Galchenyuk. Great job for Claude Giroux as well. 7 goals only, but 17 assists. So that first line was helping it out. And look at Hunter Shinkruk. Hunter Shinkruk only played 17 games for us this year, but he scored 13 goals, 9 assists for 22 points in 17 games. That's an amazing point streak. That's almost just as good as Galchenyuk and Giroux, but 5 more points than games played for Shinkruk. So good job for that first line. They did an amazing job. Second line actually did pretty good as well. Timo Hacken had 16 points in 22 games with 11 goals, probably the second most goals in the team for playoffs. Let's see. Second most goals. I assume that. So 16 points for him. Shen had 14 and 22, so that's pretty good for him. Couturier had 11 and 22. That's pretty good for a third liner. Cousins had 8. Eddie Watt had 7 and 17. Excuse me. Jimmy McKegg, the call up from the AHL, did a pretty amazing job too. 7 points in 15 games for him. That's a point every other game. Sean Monahan had 6. Gallagher only had 3. Jaden Hart only had 2. Klimchuk only had 2 points in 7 games, so he kind of missed out big time. Drew Miller had 1 point in 10 games. So that's that. Defensemen, defensemen, they didn't do too bad. Shea Theodore had 12. Ryan Murray had 11, but 11 assists, no goals for him. Pulock had 7 points in 13 games, so that's pretty good for him. Kampfer, Beaulieu, and Lehkonen all had 4 in wide variety of games. Roussel played 11 games for us. No points for him, but he did an amazing job. He was a +2. Keitner played 9 games, no points for him. He was a -4, so that kind of sucked for Ladislav Keitner, but Tyrone Roussel definitely stepped up big time. No points for him, but he was a +2, so he kept the puck out of the net, which was what we want to see from rookie defenseman. Now, Gordon Peckham, it's not the best goals against average. 20 games played, 2.5 goals against average, but he did manage to go 14, 3, and 2 with a save percentage of 91.48. Only 1 shutout, so that definitely was not Conn Smythe worthy, I'll tell you that much, but our offense definitely bailed out Gordon Peckham a lot during this series. And William Ratchiko, I was saying this wrong the entire freaking time. Ratchiko played 4 games, the goals against average of 1.76. He was 2-1 in those games that he started, so he won us 2 big games in that series against Winnipeg, I believe. So he was a 92.19 save percentage for BOJoeKO. So he got us 2 big wins in that Winnipeg series. So that was good for him. All right, so that's the player stats. Took the look at the playoff tree. Now let's simulate up ahead as far as we can go, and then we'll take a look at the awards. We'll take a look at the awards. I can't forget he's back. Just assistant coach best roster. Take a look at the awards, and then we'll look at what the next general manager has to do. We'll look at contracts and all that stuff for people's contract who are coming up in the next year. See what they have to do. Unfortunately, we can't take a look at potential, which kind of sucks, but that's kind of a glitch in the game. So, Stanley Cup champion Philadelphia Flyers. Calder Cup went to the Chicago Wolves. Keep simulating up here. Probably going to get the GM mode pop up right about now. Yep, there it goes. Oh, okay, so we actually do get the retirements here. So a lot of people retired here. A lot of NHLers now really are retiring. So picking in Bufflin, Thomas Vanek, Pavelski, Giordano, Rutu, Semin, Stafford, Brower, Seabrook, Edler, Ian White, Enstrom, Helm, Kennedy, Chipchura, Sestito, Bourdon, Dustin Brown, Ryan Suter, Pominville, Bouchard, Shea Weber, Krejci. See a lot of big names here. So Drew Miller retired for us. Dubinsky, Coburn. See a lot of big names. Downey, Phaneuf, Matt Reed, Kessler, Backus, Booth, Callahan, Green, Fleischman. Yeah, so as you guys can see, a ton of people retired here. Goalies, Jonathan Quick, Halak, Antti Niemi, Corey Schneider. So some big names retired here in the year 10. Yep, so here we are. Congratulations. Your 10-year career in BOJoeKO mode is now over. Well done. Your GM tenure will be talked about for years to come by the fans of the Philadelphia Flyers. You managed the team for your entire career and took them to an amazing 7 Stanley Cup victories in that time. You earned the elite legendary general manager status in your 8th year of your career. This is an achievement for those who follow in your footsteps. You earned 286 GM tasks over the course of your career. A significant achievement. You completed this career in hard skill level. Well done. Try picking other teams. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Thanks for playing. Thanks for that, EA. So this is as far as we can go. We can't go up to the prospects game nor the draft. This is as far as we can go. So let's check out the awards for this past year. So there we go, the Philadelphia Flyers. Winners of the Stanley Cup, back-to-back years, 7 Stanley Cups in 10 years for us. What an achievement, man. What an achievement for us. So, President's Trophy actually went to the New Jersey Devils this year. Clarence Campbell Phoenix, Prince of Wales went to us. Art Ross went to Curtis Lazar. Hart Memorial, Curtis Lazar. James Norris, Timu Aronin. Lady Bing, Dylan Ruck. Calder Memorial went to Timu Hacken, his first year competition in the NHL. So definitely back-to-back years with a Philadelphia Flyer winning the Calder, with Morgan Klimchuk and Timu Hacken. Conn Smythe went to Alex Galchenyuk. That is deserving. Vezina went to Gordon Peckham. William N. Jennings went to Gordon Peckham. Bill Masterton, Lou Carlson. Frank J. Selke, Ryan Kessler. Ted Lindsay, Gordon Peckham. Maurice Richard, Taylor Hall beat out Alexander Ovechkin, was trying for his 4th year in a row, but Taylor Hall beat him for that award. Okay, so that's pretty much it. There's the awards. There's the player stats for the playoffs. We did the playoff tree. All right, it's time to now take a look at contracts and everything whatsoever. So let's start with the back end and work our way up. We'll work with goalies as it stands right now. So Gordon Peckham's contract is coming up this year. He's 26 years old, still has the 4.5 gold star potential. He's still 88 overall goalie. An amazing goaltender that we've had in Philly. Just think, guys, you guys remember what we got for Gordon Peckham when we traded for him. I think we traded a first-round pick and Keegan Lowe for Gordon Peckham. It only took him 1 year in the AHL to jump up to this amazing goaltender that he has now become. Yeah, we're actually under the cap by 1.1 mil. That's crazy, but yeah, we're gonna have 23. The next GM's gonna have 23.6 mil to work with, so he has to re-sign Gordon Peckham this coming year. He can let BOJoeKO go because I believe Ron Peterson, he did have a pretty good year in the AHL, making it to the playoffs as well. So he probably would jump up as well. But maybe you'd have to let him go. You maybe can sign him the backup money. But I mean, just look at this guy. Look at this guy. 88 overall, Gordon Peckham, 26 years old. First round pick by the Boston Bruins in '06, but we traded for him. I mean, 50 wins seasons pretty much every year. 51, 53, 65. This one was not the best year for him, even though he actually did have a pretty good lows against. This one was the amazing season. I think this is the one where we had almost close to 60 wins with a 1.9 goals against average. Didn't have a goals against over 2.2, which is pretty good. Played a lot of games this year. He played 80 games. Had to work him like a racehorse this year, but yeah, he's been an amazing, amazing goaltender for us here. Gordon Peckham, the Canadian, I love you. So Gordon is there. We do have some goaltending prospects in Sharpenen and Chris Scuderi still to work with 3.5 stars, but they're getting up there in the age a little bit, 22 and 24. So the next GM might have to look for another young stud of a goaltender in the coming years, but you can still run with basically Gordon Peckham for another 8 or 10 years if you so wish. So he's basically your goaltender of the future for the Philadelphia Flyers. So that's goaltenders taken care of. Okay, so take a look at defensemen here. So Ryan Murray, 90 overall, 28 years old. He's still on that $6.7 million contract for another 1 to 2 more years. A lot of our defensemen's contracts come up at the same time. The 3 big names with Ryan Murray, Ryan Pulock, and Shea Theodore, all contracts end up at the same year. So that's going to be a tough year for that GM to take care of. He's going to have to decide if he has to let anybody go. Because, I mean, in 2 years, Murray will be 30. Pulock will be 29. Theodore will only be 28. So Theodore would probably be the one guy to say. Then you'd have to make a decision on who you want to keep, either Ryan Murray or Pulock. Or you can maybe make some salary cap moves around and maybe keep both of them in there. But Nathan Beaulieu's contract comes up in 1 more year as well, so then you'll have to figure out what you want to do with him. He'll be like around 30, 31 years old, so you have to make a decision there. Camphor, you don't have to re-sign him. Lehkonen, you don't have to re-sign him if you don't want to. You can maybe get depth for him. Who knows if he would have jumped up or not. But then you still have a bunch of pretty good prospects coming up in the minors. Philippe Hedja can probably take over that top 6 role next year because he's a restricted free agent. He was only 22 years old. He was a top 6, but we gave him time in the minors the entire year. So he could have jumped up and filled out that top 6 role. Who knows? But then you have a pretty good layout of prospects to come in the AHL. I mean, you got Todd Turner, who's only 20, Tristan Huxley, who's only 21, Keitner, who's 22, but he's 68 overall, so he might have got a good jump from playing in the playoffs. This guy, Tyrone Roussel, I can only imagine how far he jumped up. He might only need 1 more year in the minors, and then he might be ready to go in the future. So he's a future offensive defenseman for the Philadelphia Flyers as an offensive guy. He did a pretty good job, like I said, in the AHL. I mean, look at that. 63 points in 76 games for him. 56 assists as a defenseman in the AHL, plus 22. This guy did amazing for the Phantoms in the regular season. So that's it. You only have a couple prospects there in the Hedja, Turner, Huxley, Keitner, Huxley, and Roussel, but that's still 4 3.5-star gold prospects there under the age of 24. Under the age of 23, actually. So you got a pretty good layout of defensemen there. You could maybe use that 1 more 4.5-star gold, 4.5-star stud on defense, but you got a pretty good future lined up there for defensemen. Still, you got 4 really good overall defensemen here with Murray, Pulock, Beaulieu, and Theodore, who's still under the age of 30. Theodore is actually the perfect age for them at 26 years old. So he's the future defenseman there. He'd probably be the future assistant captain, the rock for the defense back there, depending on what you want to do with Murray and Pulock. But who knows? You can probably keep that salary under control, whatever. You may have to let somebody go sooner or later. You might have to trade one of them, but you're still pretty set for defense. So we'll take a look at forwards here. Take a look at the forwards. Rank it by overall. So Claude Giroux, he's still on that $8.4 million contract for the rest of his career. He's probably going to play till maybe he's about 30. I could see him play. So how long do we have is Claude Giroux signed for? For 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 more years. 5 more years is the biggest that we could have did him. Yeah, so 5 years that would bring him till he's about 39 or 40. It doesn't even say an unrestricted free agent after it, so he probably would retire in any time between then. So, but I mean, it's the GM mode's decision. He is the future. He is the cornerstone for the Philadelphia Flyers. So you would have to keep Giroux on this team, most definitely. Galchenyuk, probably the future of this team for when Claude Giroux retires. I mean, the Conn Smythe winner this year, you definitely have to keep him and Shinkrug. You want to try to keep this first line together as soon as long as possible, especially with Galchenyuk and Giroux, Galchenyuk and Shinkrug actually. With their contracts being kind of high, they both are up at the same year, so you might have to take a decision on what you want to do then. But yeah, let me sort this out. I keep going to all skaters. Okay, forwards. Uh, there we go. Okay, so yeah, what you have to decide there. Shen, you have to make a decision there. His contract comes up. You have 1 more year with Shen. You may want to trade him sooner or later. I think the Flyers might have to go into a rebuilding stage this next year, especially with certain players whose contracts are kind of out of hand, especially with people like Shen and Eddie Watt, whose contracts are almost close to $6 million. You might have to unload one of them at this time. I think Eddie Watt probably would have progressed pretty well this past year, so he might be able to take Braden Shen's spot, and you could maybe trade Shen away now at 30 years old. Whatever you want to do there. Couturier's contract also is up this year, so you might have to decide what you want to do with him. You could either try to re-sign him or let him walk. Klimchuk, who knows what he can. You could probably let him walk and look for another better third liner or second liner there. Hacken's contract is actually pretty good. You have him at 1.5 mil for another year. He probably would have got a pretty good jump this year, especially from winning an award. So he probably would be a really good second liner for you, good second line sniper. Cousins, you could probably let him walk, go for another third liner. You still got the good fourth line with a Hart. Monahan, you could let Gallagher walk and find a new guy, Sean Monahan. You have him sign for 1 more year at 2 mil. And then you get really into the prospects here with Jimmy McKay, who's 3.5 Red Stars, but he did have a pretty good playoff run, so he might have gotten a jump. Who knows? Then you still got a lot of good prospects here in the AHL with Dubelitz. Yeah, he's already 26, so you really couldn't do much with him. Lance Lundmark, he's only 23, still got the 4 green stars, 4 gold stars actually. And Nicolot, the 4.5 gold stars. So this guy's going to be a stud for the future. Who knows? He actually might have even gotten a pretty good jump in the minors this year. How good did he do? Yeah, he had 61 points in 76 games. So that was a pretty good jump for him. He might have gotten a good boost as well. Stortini, you still got him 3.5 green stars. So this lineup with Lance Lundmark, Alvin Nicolot, and Harold Stortini could be the future first line of the Philadelphia Flyers. Lundmark is getting up there in age, but he probably would jump maybe around 24 or 25 years old, and then he could finally make it onto the NHL team. But you got a good lineup of prospects to take over for some guys like Braden Shen, Klimchuk, and whatnot for the future of the Flyers. So that's pretty good. And then you still got other guys. You got a lot of good prospect pools with Stortini, Hentonen, who's a 3.5-star grinder. Cookin, who's a 3.5 stars as well, who's 21. Morgan Bork, 3.5 stars. Rick Cook, 3.5 stars. So you got a ton of good prospects in this pool, still under the age of 23 at 21, 21, 22, 23, 22, and whatnot. So that's basically it. The GM has to make a lot of tough decisions here in the future to come, but he does have 23.6 mil to work with this coming year, and he has to sign big names like Camphor you can let go, Gallagher can go, Couturier, Jaden Hart, and Gordon Peckham, correct? Yeah, so he has to sign Gordon Peckham, and basically that's about it. That's about it. All he has to sign is the big names are Sean Couturier, maybe Jaden Hart and Gordon Peckham. So Gordon Peckham would probably ask for maybe a really high salary, maybe about 8 or 9 mil for a goalie. He's going to increase his cap up, but Sean Couturier, and then you have to look for some depth. But who knows? You could have got a big boost from some guy in the minors and could maybe take over a spot on the NHL team, or you could go looking for some free agents. So that's basically going to do it, guys. That ends our 10-year GM mode with the Philadelphia Flyers. I call it a very successful GM mode. Actually, we can go look at the GM tracker here to go look at the final statistics for the years. So in 2012, in 2012, 2013, 2013 was the lucky year for us to win the cup, going in as the seventh or eighth seed and beating a ton of getting a lot of upsets that year anyway. So only 92 points that year, just barely squeaked into the playoffs. But 2012, 2013 was the rebuilding year where we were trading a ton of our defensemen and whatnot, trying to rebuild for the future. Won the cup in that year, won back-to-back years with that 110-point season. Come back, get a second round exit to the Toronto Maple Leafs, I think. I'm not entirely sure who we lost that year. Then went three more straight Stanley Cups, getting knocked out the second round again. That was unfortunate. We got knocked out of the second round with a high to the Carolina. We got knocked out that year, but 120 points was our best season yet at 56, 18, and 8. So that was a pretty good year for us. And then back-to-back Stanley Cups once again in 20 and 21. So great year, great GM mode that I've had here. This is the first GM mode that I've ever done, and I call it a very, very successful GM mode. So that does it for this GM mode. I'm going to put an annotation on the screen right now so you guys who have not voted yet to go vote for the next GM mode in NHL 14 so you guys can choose from a Western Conference team, either the Dallas Stars, San Jose Sharks, Nashville Predators, or the Phoenix Coyotes. So if you have not voted yet, I highly suggest that you go vote for one of those teams. And yeah, we will do it. Thanks for everybody that has tuned in since episode 1 of this GM mode. I highly, highly thank you, and I can't wait to get started in NHL 14 with a brand new team. And like I said, we're only going to do 5-year GM modes with an option for 1 or 2 more years for 14. So thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you in NHL 14. Thanks for 10 great years as GM of the Philadelphia Flyers.